build you from the ground up. Probably one of the most important courses on my website at the moment. And it's because I'm going to teach you step by step the fundamentals of boxing. See, you want to make sure you have a good foundation. You have good fundamentals. It's no different than building a house, right? You want to have a solid foundation so you can build on top of it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you the same way that I've taught hundreds of people throughout the years from owning a gym. I've also had the opportunity to work with numerous world level professional fighters, amateur fighters at the Olympic level, and they all had one thing in common, and that's good fundamentals. Okay, you have to have a solid foundation if you want to go ahead and building on top of this, alright? But this is just a really good starting point. So for all my beginners out there, intermediate and advanced boxers, let's go ahead and let's get started. You already know. What up? We are back again. Man, I need a haircut. I'm not gonna lie. I'm looking crazy. You can tell I've been grinding because I've been looking real scruffy. I'm the only person who could wear a hat and you can still tell I need a haircut. You feel me? But yeah, man, you know, we out here, man. We grinding, we working hard, man. We pushing a new course. If you use the discount code GROUNDUP50, you get 50% off my latest course, Build You From the Ground Up. But don't forget, we also have a bunch of other courses on the website. And, you know, those are still going with the CA Power Hour, man. You want 60% off any of my other courses, you already know, man. But I'm pushing this one. I'm pushing Build You From the Ground Up. It's for my beginners. It's the foundation. It's the fundamentals. A lot of you guys have been jumping on board and purchasing it. And I want to say thank you to everybody who has. Give me feedback. I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback. You guys can come right on here and give me the feedback if you want. But let's go ahead and let's chop it up. Let's talk. Let's see who's in here. My man, DMC first. All right. I see you, champ. Runner 1985, T-Bud or Porter. Ooh, firefight. Firefight. That's going to be a good one. That's going to be a good one. We're going to see, man. It's hard for me to go against Porter, though. I got to be honest. Sparring, love it. What's going on, Coach Anthony? What's up, champ? Starting to see you pulling up on these, man. See, I'm a little earlier today. Depending on how I feel, will depend on how long I stay on here. You feel me? Last 2 nights, I came on here like 2 in the morning, like really, really, really late. You know what I mean? But, you know, it was a little earlier today. Still no plan, rhyme, or reason, but I plan on for the month of November, if I do commit to the daily lives that I want to do for the whole month of November, I'm thinking somewhere in that 6 to 8 p.m. range. What do y'all think, man? Let me know. What do y'all think? My man, No Ferrez. What up, coach? What's going on, champ? Gio, what's good, coach? What's good, my guy? Any advice for making my debut? Smaller pressure fighter. Man, amateur debut? Is it an amateur debut? Let me know. Little youngster, what's good, my boy? What's good, champ? Coolin', man. You know, I'm in the lab, man. Decided to pull up here, talk with y'all. It's early, man. You know, this thing is gonna pick up as we keep going. So I'm gonna keep this going. I might have some, you know, if it picks up, if we can get the people to like, comment, subscribe, and we pick up, I might bring somebody in here who's gonna shed a lot of knowledge on you guys, man. So we got to get these numbers up first, though. What's up, coach? What's good, champ? Benjamin Cuevas, cut that hair. You already know, man. Look, man, I'm looking crazy, man. I don't even want to come live, but I say, you know what, man? I got to just pull up in here, man. What's up, coach? How's it going? Can you give some advice on wrist injuries? I collided punches with someone in sparring and feels like a nasty sprain. Ooh, that sounds like it hurts, man. I could just imagine, boom, and then the bending of the wrist. I'm gonna say you're gonna have to wrap that thing up. You're gonna have to use some ice. You know what I mean? For the first couple of days, you're gonna have to ice it down. you're gonna have to wrap it up. You're gonna have to stay off of it, man, until that thing heals, man. That's an injury you don't want. I've had wrist injuries. My wrist will never be the same. Let me show you something. So this is my right wrist. See how far back? That's how far back my left wrist go. On my right one, as you can see, it's hard to show you on camera. This one bends this far back. This one doesn't even bend back no more. And I feel pain right there. It really messed my wrist up years ago. Never ever healed. So you want to take a wrist injury very serious. So ice it, strap it up, don't use it. Get some advice from a professional when it comes to those kind of injuries. You might need an X-ray, you might need an MRI if it doesn't get better. But if it's just a sprain, I would suggest just ice it, strap it up, don't use it. Wait till you feel good, and then maybe you can start to strengthen it once that pain alleviates. You know what I mean? Are calisthenics in the beginner program? No, this is more, I mean, other than the jump rope, this is more just of a fundamental program. So in the future, we'll touch a little bit more on calisthenics. Build you from the ground up is basically just focusing on the techniques, all the beginner stuff, the techniques that I believe somebody, in their first several months of boxing should be learning. And then we're going to come out with 2.0 and we're going to keep going. And eventually we're going to start getting into programming and all those type of things. So this is kind of like the first of something that I want to keep going. What's your thoughts on bare knuckle, champ? Bare knuckle is cool. I mean, I don't really watch it. I don't really know, man. I don't have no thoughts on it. I don't even know where you watch it. I haven't seen much promotion on it. I see it on Instagram, the BK whatever, but I don't really keep up with it, man. Francisco Santiago, what's up, champ, man? How you been, my boy? Were you in Chad Ocho? Were you and Chad Ocho Cinco still fight? Coach, miss you, man. Yeah, I miss you too, my boy. Man, I ain't thinking about that, man. To me, that's a dub. I get that question all the time to this day. Not something that I'm really pressed on. I'm not chasing him, man. I wish him the best of luck in life, and that's it, man. And if something happens, if I get some kind of a good offer, I mean, Coach Anthony. Coach Anthony is not a hard guy to reach, man. Just pull up on me and we'll see how it goes. Stupid question, but how come there isn't more broken noses in boxing? There's quite a few broken noses in boxing. It happens. Sometimes you don't even know that these guys' noses are broken. You know what I mean? Not everybody talks about it. Happens in the gym, happens in the fights. You know what I mean? So broken noses in boxing, they're more common than you may think. Can you get Billy Briscoe back in here? He's great. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can do. Let's see what I can do. Billy Briscoe is my brother from another. Very underrated guy too, for the record. Very underrated guy. Give me 1 second, guys. Billy Briscoe's a busy guy, so we'll see if I can get Billy Briscoe on here. But that is my brother. Lamar Jackson, thanks for putting out content. I appreciate it. No problem, man. No problem. I think Boots Ennis is fighting Saturday. He got some mean hands. Oh man, Boots is the truth, man. Philadelphia fighter, man. Great. His father's very talented. So his father's a good coach, coaching a lot of guys in the city. So yeah, big shout out to Boots. Damn, my wrist clicking too. But thanks, coach. No problem, my boy. How does a coach make sure his fighter isn't overtrained headed into a fight? That's a good question, man. You really have to know your athlete. You have to know how he's performing in the gym. Um, you know, it's a fine line, man. It's a fine line. You know what I mean? So you gauge a guy. You know what I mean? You don't want to be this trainer that does too much. Billy Briscoe actually says this all the time. He'll say that a lot of insecure trainers will overtrain a guy, and an insecure athlete will train a guy because they feel that they have to do extra. You know what I'm saying? All the time, and that's not always the case. It's kind of like putting something in the oven to cook, right? Like, yes, you need the heat to cook the dish, but if you leave it in too long, it'll get burnt, right? So you have to know, you know what I'm saying, your athlete. You have to know what he's willing to endure. You have to know his conditioning levels and how he's performing. You'll notice a decrease in performance if you're overtraining a guy. So, you just gauge it, and that's why boxing is very specific. You kind of have to really be, you know, into your fighter. You have to know him. You have to know her. You have to know what's going on. You can't just go through you can't just read a book and be like, well, the book says you need to do this. You know what I mean? You kind of you make adjustments as you go along. So, you put them through the training regimen, you push them as much as you can, but then you have to know when to pull them back. And that's where a good eye comes in. And that's why coaching has a lot to do with training what you see. I talk about that all the time. You have to train what you see. A lot of guys say, hey, man, what do I need to work on? But I've never seen them before. You feel me? It's like, well, I have to see you first. I have to see what you're doing. And based off of what you're doing, then I'll make a decision on what needs to be worked on. So, to answer your question, how does a coach make sure he isn't overtrained heading into a fight? Uh, you have to gauge it based off of his performance in the gym, how much time he has until the fight comes, and then based off of all that data, you can make a decision like, okay, I think he should do a little bit more. I think he should do a little bit less. And that's going to come with experience. You know what I mean? A Theory Oaktown. What's good, my boy? I rock with you and your advice. You're one of my favorite coaches in boxing. What would you say is the best game plan to handle a pressure fighter if you're a more tactical fighter that pick your shots? Um, that can be challenging because if you're dealing with a pressure fighter who knows how to close the distance, you might be put in a situation where you have no choice. You might have to work a little bit harder than you want to work. So, you're going to need a good jab. That's the first thing. You're going to need a good jab. You're going to have to know how to feint. You're going to have to know how to jab. You're going to have to know how to tie up. You're going to have to know how to fight on the inside a little bit. You're not going to be able to just retreat, pick your shots, and stick and move and all that for too long because you will gas yourself out. You will eventually get broken down. So you need to take your time, and really just establish yourself, establish your jab, because these are situations where if you're a really good pressure fighter, once you get past the guy's jab or the fact that he's liking to pick shots and you're on the inside, if you can't operate on the inside, you're in big trouble. You have to be able to operate on the inside. So, what I'm going to say is, a good jab, some good feints, know how to tie up, know how to work on the inside, be patient, don't get panicky when the pressure comes. Don't start fidgeting around and looking for escape routes, you know what I'm saying? Because once you start doing stuff like that, you're going to be in trouble. So, and it also depends on what your fighter does. So if you're coming up with a game plan, typically you already know how to fight the fights. So you might have picked up on some of the habits that he has, and based off of his habits, you can kind of make a custom game plan, so to speak, for who you're fighting. But to just say how do you beat a pressure fighter overall, what I just said is kind of like the template, and then you're gonna have to make adjustments based on the guy. Ramundo was good. When Tevin fighting? we don't know, man. Tevin's been waiting around trying to see what's gonna happen, man. It's tough, man. The boxing business is crazy, man. So we'll see what happens. Top five greatest boxers, man. That's a tough one, dude. That's where I wish my boy Billy Briscoe was in here because he's been watching boxing a little bit longer than me. But my favorite five, well, top five greatest. I don't think I can answer that question, man. I don't think you can come up with a top five greatest because each era had their own greats, and with legitimate arguing, you can debate for all the eras on why you feel this era is better than this era and this era or whatever, right? Like guys who like the guys from this particular era will say, well, guys evolved and guys got smarter and guys are training better and guys are stronger. And then you go back, an era right before this and you'll say, yeah, but those guys are better technicians. And then you go era before that, yeah, but those guys were made out of steel and they used to fight 15 rounds and this, that, and the other, and all the greats, and they used to fight 20, 30 times a year. So every single era has their own set of greats. So to say the top five greats of all time is too difficult of a question for me. Now, you may bring up some data based off of records and competition and stuff like that. I'm not really a historian, so to speak. So I can't really give you those answers, but to make a long story short, man, there was a lot of greats, a lot of good fighters, a lot of guys I haven't even seen yet or had a chance to study. I mean, there's so many good guys, man, that I'm just going through the archives and just I bump into fights. I'm like, damn, how I never heard of this guy? How I never heard of this guy? So, there's a lot of good fighters out there, man. Now, if you want to say top five favorite fighters, that's a different story. Bill Bird, Billy, what's going on? Doesn't look like you working out. I already worked out today, Bill. I was already in the gym. You haven't worked out today. Make sure you get to the gym. I already went. I went early because I knew I was going to be live tonight. Could Mayweather have beat the guys at 160 like Triple G? I think that's pushing it. If I had to answer that question, depends who the guys at 160 are. A guy like Triple G, man, that's such a hard fight, bro. That's a hard fight. That's a good question, man. A prime like the Floyd Mayweather that beat Canelo Alvarez, could he have beaten Triple G? That's what I have to ask myself, and man, I want to say no, Floyd couldn't, but then when I think about it some more, I say, man, why not? I mean, he dominated Canelo. But if you're not shrinking these guys and you're going up to 160 and these guys are comfortable at 160, Canelo came down 152 and Canelo and Floyd was 152, but Floyd was comfortable at that weight. So I don't know, man. I'm gonna say no, man. I just think that that's just pushing it a little too far. I think that Floyd's extremely skilled and one of the best fighters of all time. But I just don't think that he can handle that power at that weight. I think he will eventually get clipped, and I don't think he can handle that. But I could be wrong, man. I'm sure he sparred guys 160 in the gym all the time. But when you're boxing with big gloves and the headgear is a totally different story. Do I think he's more skilled than Triple G? Absolutely. If they were the same size, I think he'll dominate Triple G. But going up to 160, man, that's tough. That's really tough, man. Great advice. Thank you, champ. I have been training boxing. It's like an art. As I seen your videos help me improve in training is all right. I mean, let me try to read this again. I have been training boxing like it's an art. As I see your videos help me improve in training. Is it the same every day when it comes to training? And is there an end when we should stop training? I guess you're basically trying to figure out a regimen. You know, every day can be different. Every coach is different. Everybody's different. So you ask 100 different coaches what the regimen is, you're going to get 100 different answers, right? I'm sure my way is different than somebody else's. You're gonna do a set core of things every day, right? Like most likely, if you have no injuries, you're a young, healthy guy, you're probably gonna jump rope every day. You're probably gonna shadow box every day. You're probably gonna hit the heavy bag every day. Now, the only thing that you're not gonna guarantee to do every day is gonna be mitt work and sparring, because mitt work doesn't need to be done every day and sparring doesn't need to be done every day. But the shadow boxing and the heavy bag, that's most likely going to be done every day. You know what I mean? Because you have to work on your skills, right? You have to hit something, Now, depending on if you have a trainer, what you got going on, it's going to determine what the regimen is. Maybe some days we work, if I'm your trainer, I might put on the body shield. I might use the handheld shield. We might work some mitts. You might just shadow box a lot of rounds that day and finish off on the bag. You might focus more on the bag one day. Sparring days, obviously, we're going to spar. Typically, after sparring, we put you on the heavy bag. Um, so different exercises you could do after training, calisthenic exercises, table exercises, which is for your stomach. So you're gonna have different routines, but they're gonna be mainly the same structure, and then there's gonna be modifications. You might focus more on certain techniques one day than the other. So, but it's gonna be basically that, and based off of your conditioning level, is gonna determine how many rounds you're gonna do. If you're in shape, you're gonna do a set amount of rounds. If you're out of shape, you're gonna do a set amount of rounds. Some days I may say we're gonna do less rounds but more intensity. You know what I'm saying? So um, that's kind of like a complicated question, so to speak. Like a boxing regimen is simple, but when we start getting into the seriousness and the individualness of the sport, it gets a little bit more complicated and it becomes more dialed into you. So, if you want to come up with a boxing routine, you're gonna have to do a set amount of round of each thing. Like for instance, I might do 3 rounds of jump rope, 3 rounds of shadow box, 3 rounds of heavy bag. This is like a simple, super easy routine. Three of everything, 3 rounds on the speed bag. You know what I mean? If you got somebody holding the mitts for you, 3 rounds on the mitts, stuff like that. And then as we increase and improve and whatever areas need to be worked on, that's where we're gonna make those adjustments. So maybe I'll come out with a nice boxing routine for you guys. Isaiah Kearns, thoughts on the high guard versus the Philly shell? Um, well, it's a good question, I guess. I think they both are important. I think they both matter. It just depends on the situation. It depends on the athlete. Some guys are more comfortable with their hands up. Other guys are more comfortable fighting with their lead hand low. When people say the Philly shell, we have to be clear. Just because you're fighting with your lead hand low doesn't mean you're fighting in the Philly shell. You know what I'm saying? It means you're fighting with the lead hand low. You might shoulder roll, you know what I'm saying? But you might use tactics of the Philly shell. But anyway, let's just say we're focusing on the Philly shell, right? It's not for everybody. I see teachers and trainers, nowadays preaching that, the Philly shell should be picked over keeping your hands up. And, the key is like, you have to remember, not everybody got good reflexes. Not everybody is built to fight with their lead hand low. So you telling that to the wrong person can get them seriously, seriously hurt. So which one do I like better? I like them both, man. And honestly, I like them both equally. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that if you have a really good high guard defense and you know how to use it, it can conserve some energy. It can pick off a lot of punches. You know what I'm trying to say? And it can set some traps. With your high guard, you can set a trap off of that, work right off of it. Now, do I think you should stay like this the whole time? No, because you can also get out hustled. You got shots can come around the side. Shots can split up the middle. So you have to be careful with it. So my answer is the perfect blend of both. You know what I'm saying? You do this when you can. You do this when you have to. But you keep yourself in a nice neutral stance, most likely you're going to be okay. Like, I don't need my hands up here at all times, and I don't need my hands like this at all times. I can keep my hands somewhere around the shoulder area, and then I could do both. I got a video called how to box out the relaxed stance, and basically I'm just saying that you could just stay nice and relaxed. See, my hand is around shoulder area right now, right? It's around shoulder. It's not super high. I was taught in the beginning of my boxing journey to keep my lead hand higher than my right, and I still teach this to beginners. But as I've gotten older and I've gotten better and more experienced, that lead hand drops to about right there, shoulder area. And from right there, I can still roll the shoulder easily. You see, it's just a transition. Boom. From here, I can pick my hands up if I have to, just in case a shot comes really quick and the only thing I have left is to cover up. You know what I mean? So I think just staying in a nice, neutral, relaxed stance is the best. And then, depending on what I'm doing, I might pull this out. I might pull this out. You see what I'm trying to say? So they both work. They're both situational. They're both tools. You use the tools as needed based off what's happening in front of you, who your opponent is, what your conditioning level is, what his speed is, what your reflexes is. There's so many variables. Don't let somebody tell you that you have to do this and you have to do that. You have to learn as much as you can, adapt to whatever's in front of you. It's a lot of intangibles and a lot of variables that go into boxing. So it's a complicated answer for a complicated question because, it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. It's you really have to understand. Look, like for instance, when Floyd Mayweather got clipped against Sugar Shane Mosley, what was the first thing he did? Brought those hands way up here. Okay? The great Floyd Mayweather did that. You feel what I'm saying? So Winky Wright won a world title. Was a beast. Hands up here. Ike Corte. Hands up here. Eddie Chambers, somebody who you guys watch on my YouTube channel, fought heavyweights. Monsters, hands up here. You okay? So you can't say that stance sucks. I've seen trainers say it. I disagree. It doesn't suck. It's good. It works. I've used it. I know it works. Now, being like this the whole time is a hard way to win, though. You can be making your life harder on yourself. So I wouldn't suggest that you stay like this the whole time. I suggest that you use it when you need it. Do you think that Logan Paul laid the blueprint on how to survive in boxing based on his performance against Mayweather? Move and hold. No, I don't think that he laid the blueprint on anything. I think what happened is, he's a 200-pound man, pause, right? Older, bigger than Floyd. Floyd's in his 40s. Floyd isn't taking full training camps and not taking these fights seriously. Logan's in shape. You could tell that he's, physically strong. He's getting in shape. He's young. He's in his 20s. He's at the top of his physical health right now. And I just think that he was able to survive because of that. He took the training serious. The conditioning was good. He's bigger than Floyd Mayweather by a lot. And Floyd Mayweather probably basically didn't train the way he needed to train in order to knock out Logan Paul. I'm pretty sure that all that Floyd did to get prepared for that fight was, a little something. He probably jumped rope, shadow box, did whatever, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't taking it as a full camp and sparring multiple sparring partners at high levels to get prepared for this. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't lay the blueprint. Moving and holding, yes, that's a tactic that fighters use, but I wouldn't say that's the blueprint on how to survive. I just think it was just a situation where you have one physically bigger person in shape able to survive against a much smaller, older person. I got my man, Billy Briscoe, the legend himself. What's good?
What's good?
What's going on, man? They was asking about you, man. As soon as I pulled in here, they was like, where's Billy Briscoe at, man? Get him in here, man. So I said, look, right here. Can you get Billy Briscoe back on? He's great. Anthony B, man, your wish came true. What's going on, Billy, man? Talk to me. How's everything?
You know me, I'm holding on. How about yourself?
I can't complain, man. I just dropped the course, Build You from the Ground Up, teaching guys the beginning stages of boxing. Just the basics, jab, cross, hook, uppercuts, the stance, the line, something that I think that people have gotten away from. We talk about that all the time. Talk to the people a little bit about boxing and what you remember growing up in Philadelphia about starting on the line and working the fundamentals for even 8 months at some points to a year. Explain to me and let the people know how serious it is.
When I was a kid, we used to work the line for like 9 months, just stepping, moving forward, backward, left, right, stepping with the jab, double jab, incorporating the right hand. You know what I mean? It was crazy, man. They was big on developing the fundamentals. You know what I mean? Because it goes back. You build a fighter like you build a house from the ground up. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the building you can put on. The square the foundation, everything goes in it behind it very easily. They used to drill you and make you do it so much you couldn't do it wrong if you wanted to.
Right. So, all right. So,
kind of a lot. Unfortunately, it's a microwave society. Today they want to show you the stance and the jab, tomorrow the right hand, left hook. The day after that, they got you doing, Floyd Mayweather emulation pads, 5-punch combinations, and your feet having one step. Very unrealistic.
Right. Now, how many okay, so if you're working the line for 8 months, in your opinion, how long before you move on to certain punches, right? So if I'm working the line for 8 months, how long am I just focusing on the jab before I incorporate the 1-2, and then from the 1-2 to 1-2-3, and then the uppercut or whatnot?
That all depends on the individual. Certain people, learn quicker than others. They would put you on a line until they seen you was ready, to take the next step. And even when you was online, they'd initiate the jab, then a double jab, then a straight right hand to the head. Then they would initiate the left hook, then the other punches. And they would, build on it as you progress, and they seen that you were able to grasp. They would progressively give you more and more. But it's definitely a lengthy process. Because you and I both know the only way you get better in boxing is 3 things: repetition, repetition, and more repetition. You got to drill it and do it right so much you can't do it wrong if you want it. You got to ingrain in your muscle memory.
Right.
And that all comes through repetition line.
Right. Now, what do you think? So we know that the Mayweathers, they're great. I mean, big shout out to the Mayweathers. I got a lot of love for them, and a lot of people try to emulate their mitt work. Where do you think that came from? Like that system, that system that Roger used, that system that Floyd Mayweather Sr. used, just that pity pat. It seems we're gonna call it pity pat, but we know that they knew what they were doing with it. They would roll the shoulder, they work off the shoulder. Where do you think that came from? Like where Roger put it together and it just became like a long rendition. And what do you think the purpose of it is? I know you could just be guessing like everybody else, but what would you say would be the usefulness of that?
Well, I think it all goes back to Floyd Sr. when he had later on in his career, he got shot in the leg with like a 20 gauge shotgun. I think it had bird shot in it. That's why he still has his leg. And I think it was his brother-in-law that shot him, if I remember the story correctly. And he couldn't box the way he used to box before. So there was an old timer from Detroit. Can't remember his name right now. And he told Floyd, he said, "Look, I can show you how to fight. And if you fight this way, you don't have to move your legs that much." You know what I mean? So he's like, okay. So he started working, catching punches, shoulder riding shots, fighting out of more of a shell. And, he passed that on, obviously, to Roger. And then Roger and then passed it on to the young boy, the young brother, Jeff. And, they all got their own interpretations of it. But, then Roger started working the pads. And I think everything with that he was doing with the pads was trying to make his nephew more reactive. You know what I mean? More fast twitch. You know what I mean? And ingrain certain techniques that he already had to ingrain him to be a little more fast reacting, if you will. Like catch a jab, shoulder out the right hand, come back with the right hand, left hook. He got that down to a science because he did it so much. I'll go back to what we talked about earlier: repetition, more repetition. And as far as like their feet not moving so much, Floyd Sr. had already built Floyd Jr. so fundamentally sound that he already knew A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, element of P before he even got to what Roger was adding in, you know what I mean? And that was just to enhance what he already had.
And
But
that
then
and, that,
again,
and
that's
that's a
just my
good
opinion.
point. That's a good point. That's a good point. That's what I kind of try to tell people as well when it comes to that kind of mitt work that Roger was doing, which we all know that has became a worldwide thing. I mean, you got people from all over the world, emulating that mitt work. Has became a like
But
almost
emulate,
like a cult following. And I have my own
absolutely.
rendition of it. And what I would say is, like you said, you got to have the fundamentals. You have to be able to step forward, back, left, right, in a circular motion, whatever you want to call it, throw your punches with proper form and technique before you can get to that. The problem is a lot of guys are using it before working those fundamentals. Would you agree?
Absolutely. They're cutting corners. I mean, this is a microwave society. They want everything in 10 minutes, or they want everything yesterday. It
Right,
takes
right.
time. You can't build a skyscraper in a month. Matter of fact, I'm in the demolition business now. We're taking a house that was a firehouse that was built in the 1860s. It's going to take us a month and a half to knock it down. You know what I mean? Because it's solid. I mean, this joint is solid. It's built like a brick shit house. The stronger the foundation, the stronger the building. You know, it all goes back to building a solid foundation. I mean, there's no other way to talk about it. Because as a kid, I remember one time I asked my mentor. I said, my mentor, the late great Mr. Wesley Mozon, this guy was the best. Man, he forgot more about boxing than most people know. So I asked him, I said, Mr. West, what's the major difference between a good fighter and a great fighter? He said, well, Billy, there's a few. Well, let me just put it to you like this. He said, one of the major differences between a good fighter and a great fighter, the great fighter takes time to master the fundamentals. And one of the other major differences between a good fighter and a great fighter, the good fighter can make adjustments from fight to fight, where a great fighter can make adjustments from round to round, and sometimes in the middle of a round, which, if you think about it, all goes back to being fundamentally sound in the first place. The old timers were real big on fundamentals, always in position, hands up, chin down, elbows in, eyes on your opponent, bite down your mouthpiece, tuck your chin behind your shoulder, you know, heel to alignment, stepping, you know what I mean, maintaining your balance. These guys nowadays, man, it's like they rely so much on athleticism. It's not as much about technique like it used to be. Them guys back in the day, man, they were fundamentally sound and they were sharp. And then once you
Exactly.
get the guys that's fundamentally sound already put together, them kind of guys you can add to their game very quickly. You know what I mean? You just give them something. Most of them are able to pick it up and own it in a very short period of time because they're already solid. They're already fundamentally sound. I know I keep saying fundamentally sound, but there's no other way
No,
to
that's
put
what
it.
it comes down
They're
to.
fundamentally.
That's the
They
main
pick it
reason
up
I made
like this.
that's the main reason I made the course that I made, and I made it the way I made it. I made it the way I made it because um, that's something that I noticed that's missing. A lot of people are putting stuff out, but the actual basics are falling apart. I was doing Zoom sessions last year, and a lot of people would come to me to do the Zoom sessions back when the pandemic first became a thing, and they told me they've been boxing for 6 months, some of them, and they didn't even know the stance, and I'm spending an hour to fix their stance when they, step with a jab. And I'm like, man, like, where have you been boxing? Where did you know what I'm saying? Oh, I've been boxing, and they just put them in these groups and then they just don't learn. They don't really take time to just master the basics. So it's so important, man. They focus on that. They don't know how long it really takes, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I did that when I was running a class. I was running I was the head boxing guy at the Brazen Boxing and MMA. It was here in Philadelphia for 2 different locations for like 5 years, but it's been going now for at least 10 years. But we used to always have the class, and I'd had them walk the line. You know what I mean? We would go on the line, and there'd be like 8 or 9 of them on one side, 8 or 9 on the other, maybe a few in the middle, and I walk along. All right, keep your chin down. Keep your elbow, the other guy, keep your elbow in. Get your right hand up. Get your heel up in the back. Keep your feet a little wider. You know what I mean? They're on the same line. Need at least heel to alignment. Oh, yours are too wide. Bring them in a little bit. You know what I mean? Keep your feet underneath you. Things like that, basics, and I was able to help, and they really loved the class. You know what I mean? Because the other place was cardio boxing. I was teaching fundamentals, and it was hard because a lot of them were like Muay Thai guys, which had to fight out of a wider stance, and they can't put no weight on the lead leg. But we tried to work around that thing. You know what I mean? And it was good. Solid fundamentals are a lost art. It's like
Absolutely.
there was a quote that I seen somebody put it on Instagram, maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And it had Emmanuel Stewart working. I think it was with Tommy Hearns in the ring. And it said that it says what this sport is lacking is teachers. All they have now is fancy paragraph choreographers, something to that effect. And you know what? He's been going now, what, about 10 years, maybe more. And he was dead on the money back then. And it's still the same. They want all to be flashed. They want all the sizzle and no substance. You know?
So let me ask you a question too, because this is a question that somebody asked earlier today. And somebody said, what's my thought on the high guard versus the Philly shell? And I gave my opinion on it. I'd like to hear yours. What's your thought on it?
Well, it depends on the individual, you know what I mean? And the look you want to give them, because you can't just have one look. You can't just have the high guard, the winky, the earmuffs, whatever you want to call it. You can't just have that. And you can't just have the show. You got to have different looks, because if you only have one look, you become predictable. And then a guy can read you and pick you apart. So then the grand scheme of things, boxing is nothing more than a series of questions and answers. I don't want to say nothing more. But boxing is really a series of questions and answers. Every punch you throw me is a question. Every counter move I make is an answer. When I can give you more counter moves than you can give me answers, you got problems, and vice versa. But the problem is, the guys get stuck. Well, I'm going to fight out of this. Okay, we understand that's your ring identity. But what other looks do you have? How deep is your bag of tricks? You know what I mean? But some people get stuck. Well, high guard versus the shoulder roll. Bro, this ain't like Tiger Kung Fu versus Wing Chun. This is boxing. Different looks, different variables. You know what I'm saying?
No, yo, I want to ask you. Let me ask you that. Billy, let me ask you that real quick. It's a question I want to ask you. Martial arts. You got Taekwondo, you got Tang Sudo, you got Kung Fu, you got all these different Korean kicking arts, and all these different styles of karate. They all have a name, right?
Right.
But boxing, everything falls into the boxing umbrella, right? Like, so if you're fighting here, this is more of a technique than learning a whole different system of boxing, right? You kind of like, we don't have a separation, even though there kind of is. It's still under the umbrella of boxing. We don't have different names for boxing styles as opposed to like karate or Taekwondo or whatever. Do you think there should be that, or do you think do you think there should be some sort of a separation there, like as far as the techniques? Like, hey man, you want to learn the Mexican style, then there should be like a Mexican style boxing gym, or Philly shell boxing gym, or a Philadelphia style boxing gym. You see what I'm trying to say?
Nah, I think if you're fundamentally sound, I know it goes back to that again, but I think if you're fundamentally sound, you can adapt any style. Now some things just ain't gonna be for you. You know what I mean? But you could take elements of that, put your own twist on it, and make it uniquely your own. Because you could take two twins that came out their moms moments apart, trained by the same person, same amount of sparring sessions, same amount of amateur fights, same amount of everything, and they're both going to fight slightly different. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's right for the individual. Years ago, I remember a guy I think it was in a Hard Knocks gym. This was years ago. I was a kid. And the guy was asking, and the guy Ernie who was running it was trained by Georgie Benton, and then Georgie Benton left Ernie to run the gym, and he told him, he said, listen, he said, Mr. Benton told me there's a lot of different ways to do this, to do the right thing. He said, I could show you a jab, I could show him a jab, I could show you a jab, I could show it to you, and you're all gonna do it slightly different. It doesn't mean it's wrong, it's right for the individual. There's a lot of right ways to do things. And I kind of got what he was saying as a kid, but later on I really like, okay, nah.
Yo, Billy, look what somebody just said. Look what somebody just said. What did I tell you earlier today when we were speaking on the phone?
About what?
Well, read the comment on the screen.
Let me see. I can't see it. Read it for me, please.
It says Billy Briscoe should write a book. His insight is top notch. What was we talking about earlier?
Yeah, we were talking about it. I'm gonna have to find time, like you said, get one of them audio recorders and start putting things down, man. Because man, I've been in boxing so long, bro. If I went back to day one, I would have to man. Been in the game. I'm like 7 years old. I mean, 6 years old. He became my father. Raised me before he passed away. I mean, rest in peace. I said, man, by the grace of Allah Most High, I've been, my mentor, late great mentor Wesley Mozan, took me under his wing, taught me everything I know. And then I was blessed to see other great teachers like Slim Jim Robinson, Georgie Benton, Mr. Willie Rush, Willie Reddish, who else? Up in New York, Billy Giles, Mr. Gil Clancy, uh, Cup Man, Mr. Al Gavin. He taught me a lot of stuff. Mr. Al Gavin, I used to always run into him and I meet him when I was up in New York. He taught me a lot. Even his partner Bob Jackson, all them guys. Because I was always open and receptive to learning something. You know what I mean? You can always learn something new. My mentor, late great Mr. Wesley Moser, told me years ago. When I asked him how long it took him to learn everything about boxing, he said, I was a kid when I asked him this course. He said that he's flattered that I think he knows everything he knows about boxing, but he said that let me on a little secret. There's no such thing as knowing everything they know about boxing. You could be in this game 60 years, make 100 world champions, still learn something new. Unfortunately, the reverse side of that, especially here in Philadelphia, is, you can be in the game 60 years, make 300 world champions. Well, at least 100 world champions. And they still say, he don't know what the hell he's doing. Haters, it's just the way it is. You can always learn something,
Right.
Like that story we was talking about with the great Chinese kung fu fighter that was kicking everybody's ass, but he knew he was missing something. So he went to all these different Sifus, and then finally they said, listen, the only guy that could teach you anything is up in the monastery, but he retired. He ain't training people no more. He said, all right, I'm going to go holler at him. So he makes a trek, maybe like a 4 or 5 day trek. He gets there, and he waits outside, and when the master come out, he says, master. And his disciples like, yo, man, get the hell out of here. He said, no, I want to talk to the master. He ain't got no rap for you. So he just kept staying there. So finally, 3 days he passed by. He's like, yo, you hungry? He was like, yeah, all right, come in. He's like, I'm going to give you some tea while the rice was cooking or whatever. So he took a cup, and he put a cup in front of him, and he took a cup, both empty, mind you. He put it in front of let's just call the guy Shu Shane, Kung Fu fighting master, Shu Shane Bo. So he pours his cup, and he leaves it just right to the brim. Then he takes the teapot, and he overfills Shu Shane's cup. He said, oh, master. He said, see, this is what you are. This is what you need to be. Which tells us, if the person comes to you for knowledge, you can't fill their cup if it's already full. You got to empty yourself to receive that knowledge. Unfortunately, people's ego get in the way. You know what I mean?
You ever had somebody come to you for knowledge, and then as you're giving them the knowledge, they start over talking you, and they start talking, and they start acting like they know more than you, but they literally came to you for the knowledge?
I don't think so. Most of the people I share, because I don't share information with too many people. I'm not saying I'm stingy. It's just the Bible said, don't cast your pearls among swine. You know what I mean? So I only share information with a few people, and everybody I shared information with was always gracious. You know what I mean? And thankful. Like when I go to people, and I'm gracious and thankful when people share knowledge with me. Always learn something new. I'm always on a quest for knowledge. What they say, live like you're gonna die tomorrow, learn like you're gonna live forever. Something along the lines. Always trying to learn something new.
I like that one a lot, actually.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot, man. Somebody asked a question. Billy, can you break down Gabe Rosado versus the Mangua fight? Man, I don't know why I had a problem pronouncing his name. Mangia? How you say his last name?
I think it's Mangia, ain't it?
Mangia. Yeah. How do you see that fight going? Obviously, you taught everything Gabe Rosado knows basically about boxing. He's not under your tutelage at the moment, but he definitely has the foundation you gave him. How do you feel about this upcoming fight?
I feel good. I think he could beat Mangia. Matter of fact, I know he could beat Mangia. You know what I mean? Gabi always had the potential, man. It's just he wasn't managed correctly. He was putting in the wrong fights at the wrong time. And you and I both know boxing's all about timing. You know what I mean? I manage you, I put you in a fight right now, and you fight a guy, and you go tooth and nail, and he winds up beating you. Might stop you, right? But if I would have waited a year and you fought the guy, you'd have stopped him in 3 rounds. It's all about timing, you know what I'm saying? And then he didn't have the right people moving him. You know what I'm saying? Truth be told, he didn't have the right people moving him. Yeah. And now he came into his own because how you going to drown the dude? How you going to drown Gabi? He's fought everybody. He's fought King Kong, Godzilla, Loch Ness Monster, Kuko. He fought them all. You know what I mean? So, now he's in there with these guys, and now all the stuff that we worked on is starting to come to fruition because, you know, he had the time to mature into that. You know what I mean? I think he does very well against Mangia. He did well against the guy Beck, and Beck's a very aggressive guy, southpaw, very good puncher. I like to see Gabi win. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another question that people keep asking me, and I think this will be a good one for you to answer because you have experience in this area. Vision. You got guys that wear contacts and they don't see too well. Um, what kind of opportunity and chance do they have to make boxing a professional career or even an amateur career?
It's hard, man. It's hard. I remember the kid. I, I my eyes been bad since birth. I think I was born like 3 pounds 2 ounces or something like that. I was like a month and a half premature or something. I had to spend like a year, I think it was like a month and a half in an incubator. So the wires connected to my eyes never fully developed. So I always had problems, seeing punches. So that's why I try to learn how to catch punches and be more defensive. But I've had the opportunity to work with a few fighters, and one fighter I was working with, I won't say his name because that won't be appropriate. And he was wearing contacts, and one of them fell out in like the 5th round. They told me, "Yo," he said, "Bill fell out on me." I said, "Damn." All right, we had to try to make an adjustment. We wound up losing because we had to get more defensive because otherwise he would have walked in the shots he didn't see coming. And you and I both know the old timer teacher from the rip, the one you don't see coming, the one that gets you. So we had to make an adjustment. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. Very, very difficult. If you can't find a way to get their eyes fixed and the vision's really that bad, I wouldn't suggest fighting.
Can a professional fighter fight with contacts in their eyes? Can a professional fighter fight with contacts in their eyes?
Well, the guy I had did. You know what I mean? Be it
Is that illegal? And
once again, it won't be proper what state it was, but it was a weak commission. It was in the United States, but it was a weak commission.
So most commissions won't catch you.
No, most won't. But there are a few states here that you can,
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go, man. A lot of people been asking about the eyes, man. A lot of people been asking about about that.
Nah, is. You know what I mean? That your eyes got to be on point. Basically, when you're sparring, that's one of the major things you're trying to do. Get the eyes sharp. Get your timing on so you can, pick up on the shots and move. It's very difficult, man. Very, very difficult. Not like in the movies where a guy puts a blindfold on and the guy for 50 shots at him, he gets away from him. Kung Fu internal chi technique. Now, it's boxing.
Doesn't work like that in real boxing, right? They gave Rosado
the one you don't see coming.
Somebody wants to know, did Gabe Rosado start boxing late?
Yeah, he started boxing. He was I think he was like 18 years and 1 month old when he started boxing. I turned him pro a day before his 20th birthday because we worked on an accelerated program. He had he had to hurry up. You know what I mean? So we condensed the training and we trained very hard. And then we had a manager and a promoter that was supposed to move him slow, but we all know how that goes. You know what I mean? They promise you they overpromise and underdeliver.
Right. So the reason he got all those losses is because he was poorly matched, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, because he was supposed to be developed. There was a whole plan in place. And then again, I'm not gonna say names because that won't be appropriate neither. But there was a whole plan in place that we was gonna develop him over like a 3-year span. You know what I mean? On a club fight circuit, putting proper guys in front of him and give him a chance to develop. But they overpromised and superly underdelivered.
Right. Yeah, man.
He got body, real fighter. I wish I could take a needle and stick it in him, right, and extract his fighting, like his heart and his will to win, and not only his will to win, because a lot of people got a will to win when they're in the ring. He's got the will to prepare to win. That's where heart really comes in at. But I wish I could have that man in there. You get a guy that has really, he's got all the talent will, but don't want to train right. You stick him with a boot. Next thing you know, you got a champion. You know what I mean? And then Then you get a guy that got all the talent in the world that don't want to train. You stick him, you take some of that, and then you get the guy. You and I both know these guys. They come to the gym, they train till the cows come home. They'll do whatever you ask them to do. Matter of fact, they're the first in the gym, and the last day you got to chase them out. But they just don't have the talent to do what needs to be done. And you take that needle and you stick him with it. Boom. Next thing you know, he'll be world champion. You know. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Usually, you find the guys with all the talent in the world. They want to make shortcuts. You know, they don't want to pay the cost to be the boss. And then you got the guy that ain't got really that much talent. They train till the cows come home. But unfortunately, you know how that goes. Then you get the guys, if you get fortunate, you get there. The guys that have the talent and work hard. Those are the guys that make it. But that's like finding a needle in a stack of needles. Very hard.
That's my favorite line right there. It's like finding a needle in a stack of needles.
Absolutely. They're
So
a rare commodity.
Since Gabriel Rosado started boxing late, right? Started boxing at 18 years old. He turned him pro by 20. Fantastic job, by the way. Let me give you your flowers, Billy. You did a great job.
I appreciate it.
Now, what would you say is a too late age to start if you want to take a professional boxing career serious? What is the cutoff? Like, let's say you get a guy, he's hungry, he's the next Gabe Rosado, and he comes to you and he's 21 years old. Does he have a chance?
Sure. 21, he got a chance. Might take 3-4 years to develop him, you know what I mean? So, worst case scenario, he'll turn pro about 25. If he's got the right team behind him, let's just say another 4 years to become a title, he could be a world champion by 29. And then, of course, if he's the heavy guy,
is the cutoff? When do you say, Billy? When do you say Billy?
It would depend on the
Huh?
It would depend on the individual. You can't really put it ain't like you could just say, 25, 30, you know. It depends on the individual. And then it depends to some extent on the weight class. Because you and I both know the real small guys, they got a very short shelf life. By 25, 26, they're basically in their prime, and by 28, they're pretty much done.
Why is that, Billy?
I haven't never figured that out, to be honest with you. The old timers told me that, and they showed me, and I was like, okay, I see that. And then the heavyweights have bigger shelf lives. You know, them guys could start fighting at 26 and fight to 35. You know what I mean? I haven't never found out the exact reason why that is, but the old timers always used to tell me that the smaller the weight, the less the shelf life.
Now I do agree with you on that as far as a pundit individual, but from a business standpoint, from a standpoint of promoters taking a guy serious, managers taking a guy serious, when have you noticed where they'll be like, you know what, a little too old, man, you know, I don't think we could do nothing with you?
I don't know. You know, it really depends, man, because, you know, promoters don't really want to put money into the guy and try to cultivate his career and bring him along if he's too long in the tooth and too old, because, you know, they don't have that long back end, if you will, to recoup the initial investment. You know what I mean?
Right.
They tie a guy up into a 5 contract. If he's 25, they might do it. But if he's like 30 and they tie him up in a 5-year contract, you know what I mean? And they got to build him in 5 years. Where's the years for them to get the return on the investment? You know, it's a business at the end of the day. But then again, the guy might be special. I mean, like, once again, there's a lot of variables in here. You know what I mean? Maybe the dynamite puncher, quickest way to make money in boxing, be a knockout puncher. Everybody wants to see a knockout. Me and you are both boxing purists. We love the art and science. We love the chess game. But even we want to see a knockout.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And then it depends on how if he's a crowd-pleasing guy, they might take him, because it's like Custom Model used to tell Teddy Atlas. He used to be like, Atlas, it's not good enough that your guys are good. They have to be exciting, because this is the entertainment business. If they want to watch people run, they'll go watch people steal. People want to see a fight. You know, we're boxing purists, but you can't tell us that we wouldn't love to watch fights like Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward 1, round 9, all day long. You know what I mean?
So do you think there's trainers that say to themselves, if this guy can't punch, if I can't make this guy an exciting fighter, I don't want to touch him? Like, remember when Abel Sanchez basically said that about black fighters? Remember, he got a lot of heat when he said that black fighters are boring, right? And you want to have the Mexican style and whatever he said. I don't remember the exact quote that he said, but I remember he got a lot of heat from the black community. Now, do you think that a guy like Abel Sanchez, let's say he gets a nice slick boxer, he's like, I don't want to waste my time with that. There ain't no money in that.
Maybe, I mean, because certain trainers favor certain guys. You know what I mean? Like certain guys, certain trainers just like they want to train certain guys that fit in their mold. You know what I mean? And he likes Mexican style aggressive type fighters. So he might not want to put his time into this slick boxer because one, you know what I mean, he's not going to be as exciting, excuse me, and maybe the promoters won't want to, move him the way they would because once again, it's a business. The fighter is actually a product, and the promoter is promoting that product. Now, if the people don't want to buy the product on pay-per-view because it's not, in their opinion, exciting, then there's no money. If there's no money for the fighter to get paid, there's no money for the trainer because the trainer is only entitled to 10% what a fighter makes. So 10% of nothing is more than nothing, So
Right.
maybe he feels that it's not in his best interest financially, because at the end of the day, you got to put a lot of time and effort and energy and into these fighters, and time is money. You know what I mean? So you can't blame him. You can't blame him one bit.
And it's
Ben
crazy
Franklin in the 1700s, lost time is never found again.
But I'm caught up in that. I'm torn because I'm a person who loves to teach defense. I love to watch a guy pull off some defensive moves and stuff like that. And I would hate to not teach a guy. I would hate to not teach a guy those elements of the sport. You know what I'm saying?
I wouldn't train a fighter and not teach him defense. You have to. Defense is at least 50% of boxing. People work at 25% of the time want to get twice as much. No secret. It's basic mathematics. I don't want my guy to be exciting. I don't want my guy to be, hey, your guy got nominated for Fight of the Year. My guy got nominated for Fight of the Year. We was in a real tough fight. Hopefully my guy's defense was enough to keep him safe. Because every time you go in the ring, a fighter leaves a little piece of himself in the ring. Even, it's a minute piece, or it could be a big chunk. And, it's usually the wars that take it all out of you. Because they say, well, the chronological age, this guy's 22 and he shot. This guy's 32 and he's still fresh. Yeah, because the guy that's 32 and fresh was a slick boxer type that probably didn't take no punishment. And the guy that's 22 was probably getting in gym wars since he was in the amateurs and, has been fighting, straight ahead, lack of defense, very aggressive. For lack of a better word, dumb pressure, where he walks straight to you, take 2 or 3 to land one big shot. You know what I mean? Because it's not the chronological age. It's how many wars you've been in. It's like the analysis Teddy Atlas gave us about the brick wall. Matter of fact, I knocked the brick wall down today. That's from the outside. And you keep hitting it with the sledgehammer, and you keep hitting it, and you're hitting it. And it chips, it cracks, it might even buckle. But nothing happens. And then a little kid comes and leans on it, and the whole wall falls over. It's not the little kid leaned on and the wall fall over, that all the blows prior to weaken the structure to the fact that it falls over.
Right.
It's like water on a rock.
Yeah.
Enough water all right through that joint.
Somebody asked Billy Briscoe, how great was Marvin Hagler? Oh, my man, Billy's frozen. Billy, you frozen. My boy, Philly. My man, Billy is frozen. Billy, you frozen, man. Try to get back in here. Click the link. Get back in here. My man, Billy Briscoe, man. I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you. Listen, I have had so many conversations. You don't know, man. Me and Billy, he'll be pulling back in here in a minute. Me and Billy have literally got on the phone like at 10 o'clock, and we'll have these conversations basically what you guys are getting the opportunity to see until like 5 in the morning. Like, you know what I mean? I've had so many conversations with Billy like this, man. And you guys are actually getting a chance to get some real behind the scenes footage of my conversations with Billy. Billy, man, you are back in the building. What happened? You froze up.
Man, you know I'm in the hood. You know, we lucky we got Wi-Fi. We can't complain about how powerful that shit is. You know what I mean? They don't call it the bare land for nothing.
Yo, Billy, you the man, Billy. So, back to what somebody was asking. Somebody was talking about how great Marvin Hagler was, and that's another thing that I love about you, how much you know about the history of the sport. Talk to us about Marvin Hagler, man.
I believe, you know what I mean? If you look at it, he was the best switcher in the game, man. Right-handed southpaw. And then, he came from Philadelphia. That's where he got his first losses at. He lost to Bobby Boogaloo Watts. Then he lost to Willie the Worm Monroe. He had a lot of good fights here, you know. Russell Peltz actually had a chance to get 15% of them. The Petronelli brothers was like, listen, so we've been fighting here, you know what I mean? We'll give you 15%, move our guy. He's like, if you can't beat the guys here in Philadelphia, what the hell am I going to do with you? And, he didn't take him up on the offer. And here the guy became a tremendous world champion, one of the greatest middleweight champions of all times.
When did you realize how great Marvin Hagler was?
Huh?
At what moment did you realize how great he was? There's always that one fight, that one moment where you're like, yep, he's the one.
I think when he fought Alan Mincer for the title in England, smashed him. And they couldn't get out the ring. They couldn't get out the ring quick enough because the British fans was pelting the ring with bottles and all kinds of shit. Yeah, he was a bad dude, man. But just coming to Philadelphia and holding his own, he was, because once upon a time there was only 10 top contenders and one world champion. It wasn't all these different world champions, and 5 of the top 10 contenders was residing here in Philadelphia. Shit, I think 3 of them were training in the same gym.
Somebody said, wasn't Hagler from Massachusetts?
Yeah, he's originally from Newark, New Jersey, but he moved to Massachusetts, and he lived in Brockton, Massachusetts, and he started his whole boxing career up there with the Petronelli brother. From the first day he walked into the gym to the day he retired, he was with the Petronelli. The rarity, you know what I mean? Loyalty.
That's loyalty. You don't see loyalty no more in the sport.
And they didn't even have a contract. It was a handshake agreement.
Isn't that how most boxing contracts work, though? For trainers and fighters?
Usually. That's how I do it, but
Yeah, that's
generation.
Crazy. Yeah, nowadays you need a contract. A real contract.
But the only problem is the state athletic under the ABC, they don't recognize the trainer's contract. They only recognize the promoters, the managerial, and the advisors. The trainer and the cut man just got to hope and pray that the fighter or the managerial team is honest enough to make sure he gets paid.
Right.
But yeah, we still got to buy a license. We still got to pay for our license for the State Athletic Commission. But we don't enjoy none of the protection that the other people do. Sad.
So somebody asked me this earlier, and I couldn't give them an answer. But maybe you could. Top 5 greatest fighters of all time.
Well, that's subjective, you know what I mean? But to me, it would be Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Henry Armstrong, Sam Langsford. Was that 5?
That was 4.
And probably definitely Willie Pep. You know what I mean?
Oh wow, that's a different list. I mean, there's a solid list, but definitely some names in there I didn't expect over other names.
Well, Willie Pep had over 250 fights. I mean, the guy, he got his back broken in a plane crash. They told him they were going to pay him millions of dollars. You know what I mean? In the lawsuit, he said, "Man, fuck that. I'm good. I'm gonna go back to fighting." He fought for another 20 years, another 100 and some professional fights. They said that they asked the guy that he was fighting one time, "What's it like to fight Willie Pep?" He said, "Like fighting a man in a room full of mirrors." The old timers had a saying, "You could have hit him in the ass with a handful of rice." That was really the art and science of boxing: hit, not get hit. You hit him once, you won't hit him again all night. There's a urban legend, whether it's true or not, I'm not sure, that he told his guys, he's like, "Listen, I'm on the 3rd round. I'm not going to for one punch. I'm going to just use defense and I'm going to win the round." And sure enough, he did it and he won the round.
That's amazing. You know what though? I really believe more fights should be scored that way though, because there are a lot of guys that do some beautiful defensive moves and they lose the round, and it's like he wasn't getting hit.
Yeah, but you know the four scoring criteria to professional boxing is ring generalship, defense, effective aggressiveness, and clean, effective punching, with a major emphasis on clean, effective punching. Okay, but what about the other three elements? What about the ring generalship?
Oh man, we're gonna have to get Billy's Wi-Fi game up, man. My boy Billy keep getting bumped out of here. I'm sure he'll come back in here though. Billy, get back in here, man. ASAP. He was just about to hit y'all with that knowledge, man. We're gonna keep it going until Billy get in here. But you know, based off of that though, he was basically gonna start touching on the other three elements of boxing, you know what I mean? He's gonna start touching on the other three elements of boxing, which you gotta say, right? If a guy is doing, I already know what he's gonna say. I mean, me and Billy has had these conversations hundreds of times, so I'm gonna try to wait for him to come back in here so he can give it to you from that authentic Billy Briscoe, uh, vibe. I don't want to ruin it. I want him to go ahead and kick it to y'all. You know what I'm saying? There's certain things that I've learned from Billy, man. Certain things that I like to use that I stole from Billy. You know what I'm saying? Because Billy's the man. You know what I mean? But that's my guy. I've known Billy now since about, I don't know, 2013, maybe 2013, maybe 2014, somewhere in that area. So just imagine all the conversations and watching him. And he watched me come up in the Philadelphia thing. He was already up here when I first came into boxing. You know, I was just stepping into the Philadelphia scene. Billy was the hottest thing in the town. Billy had Gabriel Rosado when Gabriel Rosado was coming up, and everybody wanted to work with Billy. Um, Billy watched me grow from a pup into, a trainer, teacher, and so I love chopping it up with Billy Briscoe, man, for sure. My man right here said he's a real knowledgeable coach. Yeah, absolutely. The boxing Illuminati kicked him out. I want this guy to train me. Hang on, I'm 51. Damn. Yeah, you still got a chance. You still got a chance, man. You know what I'm saying? Just Masters division. You just gotta focus on the Masters division. Ray Leonard versus Floyd Mayweather. Who wins that? Man, woo, man. Listen, if I had to bet the house on that fight, I think I got to go with Sugar Ray Leonard, man. I just think that Sugar Ray Leonard's punch volume, power, speed, dog, toughness. I just think that Sugar Ray has enough attributes to pull that fight off, man. Now, I do think that Floyd Mayweather is hard to hit. You know, Floyd Mayweather is a dog himself. A lot of people don't talk about Floyd Mayweather being a dog. Um, but the Sugar Ray, man, I mean, Sugar Ray was able to go to 160. You know, Sugar Ray was a real welterweight. You know, Floyd was a lightweight coming up. Man, I'm gonna have to say Ray Leonard in that fight, man. I'm gonna have to say Ray Leonard. But Floyd Mayweather is still Floyd Mayweather, and he's somebody who you can never count out, right? We've never seen him lose. We've seen Ray Leonard lose. We've never seen Mayweather lose. So it's kind of one of those type of situations. But Ray Leonard was a monster, bro. Like that's a fact. Ray Leonard was a monster. He needs to switch phone service company. There's a great conversation, Coach. We're gonna see if we can get Billy back in. Let me see what I got going on with Billy, man. Maybe his phone died, Maybe his phone died. He did say he was charging his phone. But if he charges us up, if we're still on here, uh we'll get him back in here. Leonard too powerful. Leonard will bite through Floyd's gloves. Ray will get put in the matrix for 12 to 16 rounds. Ooh. Mayweather had hard skills, chin, everything. That's a fact. He sure did. Let's not take nothing away from Floyd Mayweather. Ray Leonard longer, faster, with most other things being equal. Um, Other than defense, I don't think the defense was equal. I think Mayweather has the better defense. I think Mayweather has the better upper body movement than Ray Leonard. Like, Ray Leonard's been hit more than I've seen Mayweather get hit. So I think everything. I think defense goes to Floyd. I think defense goes to Floyd, and mostly everything else goes to Ray Leonard. So I think that's what determines it for me. Mayweather inside fight is underrated. Ray was a monster in the ring. It will depend on the judges. Mayweather has way more ring intelligence. I don't know about way more, but he's good. Listen, Floyd's probably the best fighter I got a chance to watch. His whole career. You got to understand. I didn't watch all these older guys that like Billy. Billy's an era before me, right? So Billy was watching guys in the '80s and stuff like that, and in the '80s I was just being born, right? So I didn't have a chance to really study all the guys like that. I would have to go back onto YouTube now and do my due diligence. But you know, Sugar Ray Leonard, man, he was just a beast, man. I just kind of lost my train of thought for a second. I forgot what I was saying, to be honest. But um, you know, Sugar Ray's the man. I would go with Floyd. He's a better student than Sugar Ray and better general. I just think that the size difference, man, is the determining factor. I just think that Ray Leonard also was a dog, man. Like, he'd be willing to get hit to give you a shot, and I think that's what would change some things. Who you got, Canelo or Plant? Man, it's gonna be tough, man. It's gonna be tough for Plant. Um, Obviously everything's leaning toward Canelo. Big shout out to Team Plant though. I always got to shout them out because I'm real cool with a lot of people who's in his team. I'm rooting for Plant. I met Plant before. Very nice, very humble. Um, Been through a lot. Tough kid. Very good boxer. So the determining factor is going to be, can he rise up to the occasion? We know that Canelo could rise up to the occasion. So Canelo fighting at this level, he's done. He's been doing it for quite some time now. He fought everybody from Sugar Shane Mosley to Triple G to Floyd Mayweather to Aris Larry Lara to Daniel Jacobs. I might have mentioned Triple G already twice. Kovalev. Um, the man's just been in the ring with a lot of big names, guys who could punch, and Caleb doesn't have the same kind of pedigree. So it's going to be, can Caleb live up to this challenge? Now, Caleb does some very good things, very good boxer, very slick, has all the attributes that can frustrate Canelo. And that's what makes this an interesting fight to watch. But it's going to really boil down to, does he really live up to this? Can he live up to this? And that's what we're going to have to wait and see. You know what I'm saying? People still talking about this Floyd Mayweather Sugar Ray fantasy fight. Did you ever meet Nazim Richardson? Yes, I did. I had a chance to meet Nazim Richardson, and actually in the gym, I cornered Eddie when Nazim Richardson was training Travis Kaufman at the time, and I was working with Eddie Chambers. We was getting Eddie ready for a fight in Atlantic City, and technically I cornered against him. Now it wasn't the gym, you know what I'm saying? But I have that in my memories. I had a chance to work the corner against a guy that he was working with in the gym, Schuler's Gym. Big shout out to Schuler's Gym. My man Buster over in Philadelphia, one of the most historic gyms in the city. Meet him, not only meet him that time, but meet him several times, have conversations with him. I got pictures with him. Um, Nazim Richardson, man, one of the Hall of Fame historic trainers from Philadelphia. I'm honored to say that I got a chance to, be that close to him on a personal level. So, that's one of the great things about being here in this Philadelphia region. I've had a chance to meet everybody, work with everybody from this Philadelphia region. Bernard Hopkins, just guys that trained with Bernard, sparred with Bernard, world champions, and stuff like that. And this is like boxing Harvard, man. This is like boxing Harvard, and I've learned a lot over here in this area. I've been here for over a decade now, so I got a lot of experience in this town, and a lot of good talent has been through Philadelphia. We all know that. Somebody says Sugar's hands down. Definitely Ray. I don't think Floyd could beat a Hearns, Duran, or Hagler. I mean, Floyd, they asked Floyd about Hearns, and he said, "We've seen Hearns get knocked out. We've never seen me get knocked out." So that was a little bit of a shot he threw at Hearns, man. But truth is, man, damn, imagine Floyd Mayweather versus Tommy Hearns. That's a very weird fight. I can barely even envision it. I can't even see how that fight would go. You know what I'm saying? It'd be very weird to just even picture them two guys fighting each other. But yeah, you got a point, man. Leonard, the strength of Leonard, the speed of Leonard, I think is the difference. You know, Canelo stops playing round ninth, I believe. Not a bad prediction. I can't say that it's a bad prediction. You feel me? I think that it could happen too. We don't know. Hey, Coach Anthony, does it bother you when you see these so-called trainers teaching bad techniques? Yeah, of course. It bothers me. Me and Billy Briscoe, we have these conversations all the time. We try to stay positive. We try not to shed negativity and talk bad to the people or say certain things to them that might make them feel bad. But I try to educate. That's why I have a platform like this. That's why I bring guys like Billy on. I bring guys like Eddie on, people who I'm close to, who are very proven in this sport. So maybe I might say it one way and you guys might need to hear it another way from another guy. And we try to educate. That's what this platform is for. My platform is to help educate the people on boxing. And I just hope that some of those trainers are listening and learning. And for those who maybe I'm teaching something, and then if you see somebody who you may look up to on my platform and you realize that they're agreeing with me or whatever, then maybe you'll come to say, okay, well, Coach Anthony does know what the hell he's talking about. All right, maybe I will listen to that guy. And, we can maybe shed light. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't have all the answers to everything. I mean, there's other great teachers in the sport as well. But I just think that there is a lane for educating trainers because there's a lot of trainers who just want to be trainers. Everybody wants to be a trainer who's, in boxing. Everybody who's a boxer. Like I know guys that have absolutely no reason to be training fighters, and they know that I know that they don't know what they're doing, and yet they'll still look me dead in the face and act like they know what they're doing, and I'll just be like, wow, like audacity is unbelievable. But I'll just sit there and let them do their thing. I'm not here to tell you what you can and can't do. I just hope that along the way you learn, and as you learn, you improve. Because when you are working with fighters, you have people's life. They're depending on your teachings, and you can get somebody seriously hurt, especially if they really believe in you. So the key is, educate yourself as much as possible, and make sure that these guys are learning correctly. Is Mike really going to fight in February? I don't know. I didn't hear nothing about it. Who do you think would win, Boots or Terrence Crawford? That's a pick and fight, man. That's a pick and fight. We got a lot to learn about Boots. He's fighting, I believe, this weekend against Thomas Delorme. I had a chance to work against Thomas Delorme with Hank Lundy back in like 2014, 2015. So that goes to show you how many years ago that was. So I don't know what version of Thomas Delorme we're going to get this weekend. I highly doubt it's going to be the best version of him. I'm sure he's shelling himself at this point. But That's not to discredit Boots in any way. Boots is just doing what he does. Boots is a fantastic fighter. I believe he's going to stop Delorme this weekend, maybe in 2 rounds, 3 rounds, something quick. I don't think it's going to last too long. I'd be surprised if it goes past 5 rounds. And people are going to be asking to see him against some real stiff competition. And I think after he wins this weekend, we should see him step up, a little bit more aggressively. I think he's ready for a big fight right now. I mean, maybe a top 10 guy after this, So hopefully we can see it. Who would win, Teofimo versus Tank? Man, that's a good fight. Man, that's an interesting fight. We all know both of those guys could punch. I think Teofimo's a little bit bigger, though. I think Teofimo has the size advantage. So that could be the difference. Teofimo could possibly pull it off because of the size advantage. But Tank is a dog, man. He's an animal. But so is Teo, man. That's just a really, really weird fight, too. I don't know who I would really pick in that fight. I think that's a fight that any man could win. Big ups, Coach Anch. What's good? What's good? Yeah, I believe Boots is fighting on I think Boots is fighting on Showtime. Be the geek. I don't think Boots is ready after watching his last fight. What about his last fight made you feel he's not ready? What made you feel like that? Coach, have you seen Tim Tszyu and what do you think? I haven't seen him fight. I know that he's been fighting, racking up some wins. Obviously, his father, Costa Tszyu, was a fantastic fighter. But not too familiar with Tim Tszyu, I guess you could say. Not too familiar, man. I haven't seen too much of him. Do you think Shakur and Loma would ever fight? And if so, who you got in 130 or Shakur's first fight if he moves up to 135? Man, I don't know if those guys would ever fight. I mean, yo, excuse me. I don't really know if those guys would ever fight. I think that I know they sparred each other. I remember when they sparred each other because Shakur was actually sparring at the gym that we were training guys out of, and he let us know that he was on his way to go spar with Shakur. I mean, Shakur was on his way to go spar with Loma, and when he got back, he also let us know that the sparring was really, really good. So I don't know who got the best of who in the sparring, but I do know that they boxed each other. And I just think that Shakur Stevenson is just the younger, hungrier guy. And I just think that's the difference right now. I think if he fought Lomachenko, his youth would be what carries him in that fight. I think Lomachenko's a fantastic champion, hell of a fighter. But I just think that the youth of Shakur Stevenson is what's going to carry him and probably get him that victory if they was to fight. Coach, what do you think about father coaches like Angel Garcia, Teofimo Sr., Sane Sr., and Enzo Calzaghe? They probably have less knowledge than others, but crazy chemistry with their fighters. Um, you know that's a touchy subject because. Oh, give me 1 second. That's a touchy subject because sometimes it can be a benefit and sometimes it can be a detriment. I think sometimes these fathers they help their kids by guiding them and keeping them disciplined and forcing them to do what they don't want to do. But then sometimes I think they hurt their fighters because they refuse to let real educated people come in and make decisions that's going to help their kids because they want to be in full control. And I think a lot of ego gets in the way when fathers are too involved and stuff like that. So it can work both ways. I do think that a father being in his son's life, though, can be a benefit, a huge benefit, because a lot of the times the kids, they want that from their father, and so it's a case by case situation. Those particular fathers that you mentioned, I know Angel Garcia personally. I had a chance to meet him. Never seen him work with Danny Garcia. Billy Briscoe actually would have been a better answer for that because Billy Briscoe is the cut man for Danny Garcia's last few fights and was in camp with Danny Garcia when he fought Errol Spence, and I think the fight before that, and maybe some other fights in the past. So he knows how Angel Garcia works more with Danny than I do. Um, I think Enzo Calzaghe did a great job with his son from what I've seen from a distance. Teofimo Sr., I mean, I guess he's doing good. Whatever they're doing is working, so it just depends, man. It just depends. You feel me? Favorite Mexican fighter. You know what's crazy? My favorite Mexican fighter is Eric Morales. I love Eric Morales, man. There was something about his style that I personally just loved. Um, he threw bunches and punches. He could switch southpaw. He can box. He can brawl. He was just a dog at 122 pounds. He was just something really fun to watch. Can he be beat? Yes, he was beatable, but he can also beat you. You know what I'm saying? He beat Manny Pacquiao the first time they fought, and he was already at the tail end of his career. When he fought Danny Garcia the first fight, it was close, and he was way gone and way overweight and way beat up in his career, and he still looked pretty good against Danny. So the first time, not the second time, the first time. So for me, Eric Morales is my favorite fighter. I'm not saying he's the best Mexican of all time, but damn near, definitely my personal favorite. Good talk tonight. I'm taking notes. I'm glad I could bring you some value, my guy. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. I told you guys I'm trying to go live. I think next month, man. I think I'm gonna come on here every single day. I'm gonna give you the final call if I make the full commitment. It's probably gonna be somewhere in that 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time range, man. What do you guys think? And I'm gonna do stuff like bring guys like Billy and other people on here, and even you guys, and we just gonna chop it up. We gonna talk, man, and we gonna get some boxing knowledge out there. Coach, how important is the clinch in boxing? Initiating, escaping, landing shot. The clinch is extremely important. That helps you in a few different situations. If you're the taller guy and a guy closes the distance and you feel uncomfortable, you could tie him up. If a guy throws a shot and you slip and you step in and smother, you could tie him up. If you're tired, if you're gassed, you could tie a guy up. If a guy's overwhelming you with punches, you could tie a guy up. So yeah, the clinch is extremely important. It's like a safety net. It helps you, it protects you in certain situations. It gives you a chance to get your stuff together. If you're in a competitive fight, there's a referee, they're going to eventually break you. But that little moment that you get to tie up with your opponent when you're having a rough situation can help you. So it's better than trying to exchange or something when you're not in a position to. So if you're out of position or something and you have an opportunity to tie them up, yeah, clinching is extremely important. Are you a fan of light sparring or do you prefer all heavy? No, 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 no. I don't prefer all heavy sparring. I prefer educational sparring. So some days are going to be lighter than others. Some days are going to be, more competitive than others. Not into gym wars. I don't believe that two guys should be knocking each other out in sparring. It happens. I get it. If you slip into a shot and you get knocked out, I totally understand that. If you get hurt in a sparring exchange, I totally understand that. But I don't feel that fighters should be trying to purposely knock each other out. I believe that sparring is for learning, sparring is for working on your weaknesses, sparring is for technique, sparring is for your eyes and your reflexes. There's so many different things that sparring is for. And if you're not educating yourself and the only thing you're looking to do is hurt somebody, then you're not learning much. You know what I mean? Now, I see guys out here posting on Instagram, knocking each other out and boasting and bragging about it. That doesn't impress me, man. I've been around some of the best fighters in the world, and that's not how they carry themselves. It's not how they conduct themselves. Now, don't get me wrong. Heated sparring does happen, and I'm okay with competitive sparring. I'm okay with that. Guys are going to land good shots, and, guys are going to feel them, and that's all fine and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that. But once we start getting out of character and just looking bolos and trying to hurt each other and just, you lost me at that point. You know what I mean? Because now this is no longer sparring. Sparring is supposed to be for education. It's to work on your weaknesses. Becoming a gym champion, man, doesn't do nothing for your career. I'm the best fighter in the gym. Congratulations. Like, what does that do for you? Like, we're trying to be the best, we can be in the world, let alone the best in the gym. And then what happens is when you get too hard sparring, you can hurt your athlete. So if I got a guy and he's sparring hard all the time, guess what? He gets hurt. Now he can't spar. Now we took 2 steps forward to take 10 steps backwards. So we have to preserve our shelf life as much as possible. We don't want to get hurt in the gym, which a lot of fighters do. A lot of fighters leave it all in the gym. So make a long story short, not a fan of the hard sparring, but I do believe in competitive sparring, and I do believe in educational sparring. Thoughts on Amir Khan? Amir Khan was a good fighter. Hi, CA. Just wanted to say thank you for your great video and courses early this year. Throughout the lockdowns, no drum, but I drilled everything. 100% worth the investment. Love from the UK. Thank you so much, Lawrence. I appreciate that. Perfect time to remind you guys that I got the ground up 50% off my newest course. You know what I'm saying? And then I got my discount code, the CA Power Hour, for 60% off any other course, just for you guys jumping on this live right now. Okay, so hopefully you guys take advantage of that. And let's check out one of these other commercials that I haven't posted in a while. Congratulations, guys. You guys made a good decision. You guys purchased the Philly Shell System, something that I spent a lot of time thinking about and a lot of thought into this video. I got none other than Fast Eddie Chambers, world-class professional fighter, to be my demonstrating partner. Somebody who does the Philly Shell exceptional. He's an excellent defensive boxer. And this is for anybody who wants to learn the Philly Shell. And if you're naturally a defensive fighter, the concepts and the thought process of this defense is second to none. I mean, hands down, probably the best concept for defense out of any other defensive style in boxing. You need to really practice this. This is something that you have to take serious. Boxing is a serious sport. You don't play boxing. And talk about everything. We're going to start with the stance. Day 1 in the gym, learning the Philly Shell.
Let's go ahead and get started.
The receipt, as soon as he throws that, boom. Okay. When I'm throwing the cross, what makes me punch so effective is now this is super advanced again, guys. This isn't for the beginners.
You're getting like a 10-for-1 right now. This is boxing. This is the beauty of the sport. This is what makes you a pugilist, okay? Oh, beautiful. Keep it flowing. That boy Eddie a beast, ain't he? That boy Eddie. Everybody wants to know how to box a southpaw. Everybody who's a southpaw wants to learn how to box the opposite stance. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna give away all the secrets. We're gonna teach you so many great things, man. And luckily, we got a guy right here who can box both stands, orthodox and southpaw, and fast in the chambers. So we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna learn a lot. You guys made a very wise decision. So let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. Really good training tool for people out there who are just learning how to box. You guys can actually follow along and do all of these combinations with Eddie, or you can pick the ones that you're able to do and just focus on those until you get better. And for even some of you advanced guys, because I know how it is, sometimes you just lose ideas. I don't know what other combinations to throw. I did my basic combinations. What else do I throw? So we went ahead and we put some thought into how we can go ahead and give you as much variety as possible. And now we're gonna finish with the hook upstairs. These body head combinations are crucial because if you want to land your body shots, you have to get your opponent distracted by throwing a headshot. And that's it, guys. So this is gonna be really good, really informative boxing. Man. So many different things, man. So much to the catalog, man. My man said good looks, about to watch that Garcia Morales fight. That was a good fight. Yeah, that was a fun fight to watch, man. Watch the first one, man. But that's old Morales. That's not young Morales. You know what I'm saying? That's not young Morales, man. I am old, but I still love training. Wish I had someone like you training me when I was younger, man. Hey, man, you can still train, man. You can still work on your craft. You know what I'm saying? It's not about fighting somebody, right? Boxing's a way of life. So you definitely can still train. You can still do your thing. About to get out of here. Let me close up with the last commercial of the list for right now. This is Build You From the Ground Up. Probably one of the most important courses on my website at the moment. And it's because I'm going to teach you step by step the fundamentals of boxing. See, you want to make sure you have a good foundation. You have good fundamentals. It's no different than building a house, right? You want to have a solid foundation so you can build on top of it. And that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you the same way that I've taught hundreds of people throughout the years from owning a gym. I've also had the opportunity to work with numerous world-level professional fighters, amateur fighters at the Olympic level, and they all had one thing in common, and that's good fundamentals. Okay, you have to have a solid foundation if you want to go ahead and building on top of this, all right? But this is just a really good starting point. So for all my beginners out there, intermediate and advanced boxers, let's go ahead and let's get started. You already know. All right, guys. That's that. We've been on here for an hour and 42 minutes. I want to say thank you for everybody who pulled up. Man, we had some real good talk tonight with Billy Briscoe. Obviously, I showed you guys some of the courses that we got on the website, CoachAnthonyBoxing.com. Build You From the Ground Up 1.0 is now live. We just dropped it 2 days ago. That 50% sale will be ending, I believe, tomorrow after Halloween. Maybe extended for an extra day. I don't know. But I'm going to definitely suggest that you guys jump on that, especially if you're a beginner and you want to just pick it up. You heard what Billy said earlier, man. The foundation is key. You know what I mean? You have to focus on the fundamentals. You can't skip them. You know what I mean? And I want to go live every single day and chop it up with you guys, man. So, just be ready. And my man said, thanks, Coach. Always quality content and support. I appreciate you guys just as much as you guys appreciate me, man. My goal is to continue to teach you guys boxing from a lens, in person, help you become the best you can be through my courses, through my YouTube channel, through my live streams. You can learn a lot just by listening to these live streams by some of the people that I talked to, some of the Q&As. So, this is just a platform that I want to educate people on boxing, and what I would say is the right way. We're going to give you the cutting edge, the real spill. We're not going to BS you. We're not going to sugarcoat you. We're not going to tell you one way. We're going to teach you multiple ways over here. So, I want to say thank you guys. And you already know, man. My man could tell I'm tired. He said, go get some rest. Thank you for the stream. Thank you for pulling up. I appreciate you, man. And that's it for now, man. I'll see you guys real soon.